Hello, everyone. We are live and rolling. Welcome. This is day 2 of the hashtag RevGen Masterclass hosted by OnePageCRM. Yesterday, we had precision sales coaching and Taskdrive that joined us to talk about the softer side of sales and discuss the 3 levers of revenue generation. So it was really a session packed with great insights and pro tips. And in today's session, we will talk about another really hot topic right now, that is AI. And specifically, we're going to talk about how we can elevate our sales strategy by using new tools and new tech. So we're going to cover quite a lot in an hour, from sharing lots of insights again and talk about things to consider in your sales process. So before I introduce you to our panelists, my name is Annabelle. I'm the partnerships lead at OnePageCRM, and I'll be your host for today. I'm located in Ireland. It is windy and it is cold right here, right now. But if I can ask everyone that's just joined to add in the chat where you're joining us from today, it's always great to see how global these webinars can be. Brian is joining from Galway, Denmark, Calgary in Canada, Galway again, Florida, Atlanta, Montreal, Canada, wow, London, Galway, Roscommon, that's in Ireland, New Jersey. Welcome, everybody. Turkey, South Africa, welcome, Jacques. So we're going to kick the session off by doing a really quick poll to get to also understand from my audience where you're at right now and what's your current usage of AI tools like ChatGPT, for example. So please do let us know if you've never used AI before, or if you've just started playing around with it, if you're using ChatGPT. So if I can ask Brian to launch the poll.
In the meantime, can I say thank you to Giles, because he wished my wife a happy birthday. So thank you, Giles. Rod pays for GPT-4. Awesome. Yeah, I do as well. And I recommend it for $20 a month. It's a no-brainer.
So poll starting to come in.
I see that. I can't vote. I was going to vote.
Yeah, this is terrible, Tim. We don't have an opinion today.
Yeah, I can't vote.
So the majority seems to be playing around with it. So I think it's still in that learning phase. Michael, what's your initial reaction when you see this?
Actually, just played around a little bit with the free is a bit surprising. 60%. I would have thought more on a daily basis for some aspects anyway.
That's what I would have said. As Michael said, I think I was expecting a bit more. I use AI daily, or at least, even people that use in the ChatGPT Plus, the paid version, maybe not daily, but they saw the power and they were like, you know what, take my $20. And I'm very shocked that we just have 5% on Master of AI. It's the end of Q3 2023. And Q4 is here on Monday. And if in Q4 you're not adopting AI, you might be very behind in 2024. So I recommend to get on that train very quickly, because it's a bullet train.
Even for simple things, when it comes to daily usage, it has replaced for me Google for binary-like decisions and calculations, which is something I kind of went to Google for a lot. So you just don't get that noise that comes with Google sometimes.
Well, to defend those free, the played around free with the free version folks, in some ways I can imagine that if you're not using it for integrations and other things, the free version, to just play around actually allows you to do a lot. So I'm wondering if they maybe haven't been introduced to what the power of the paid version is.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, let me introduce you officially to our speakers. So Daniel here is a business development director at Verse, which is a conversation platform that combines AI with people. So Daniel really is a wealth of knowledge in the AI space, and welcome. And Daniel is joined by Tim, who wears many hats, from CEO of Taskdrive, AI trailblazer, growth hacker, and super husband if you're following him on LinkedIn. So welcome, Tim. And we're also joined, of course, by Michael, who is the founder and CEO of OnePageCRM. So
very hard to follow Tim's introduction.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect that much. Thank you very much, Annabelle. It is a pleasure to be here, absolutely. And I'll add a father who's aspiring to be a great father, I guess. But that's my new role.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I mean, like looking at the poll results, there is a ton of hype around AI, and for good reason, because AI is changing the way we work, the way we interact with technology, and even the way we live. Daniel, how do you feel about AI yourself, and how may have this changed for you in the past couple of months?
Yeah, we actually, Verse went through the company I work for, Verse, we've been a company for about 10 years and actually went through a full brand change about a month ago. We've owned the domain .ai for 5 years, but we're scared to release it. So when we rebranded to Verse. Previously we were Verse.io, and when we were doing all the press for that and spreading the word about the name change originally to Verse.io, there was a fear amongst the people, the executives and our audiences that people weren't ready for AI as part of our name, that they were scared of it, that they would think that there was something nefarious about it, or that they didn't trust it. And the fact that we went through the name change to become Verse.ai to show the true nature of the business shows that things have changed a lot, right? In the last 6 months, the public sentiment and our trust in the market to kind of understand what we do has grown a lot. So things have changed relatively quickly, Annabelle.
Great. Tim, have you seen a shift in behaviors towards AI recently as well?
I'm unmuting, didn't work. Okay, here we go. Well, I think I have seen around me, but I think that, or I hope that I'm hanging out with like the forefront tech entrepreneur type of people. So absolutely, I think it's much more accepted. AI a few years ago, I worked in a computer vision company about 6 years ago. Neural networks, deep learning, and like really deep tech of AI and stuff like that. And people were like, what is that? And we were just recognizing images of real estate to categorize them automatically in milliseconds and understand the image and recognize it and tag it and categorize it. And people didn't understand when we explained we had a 18-month sales cycle. And I think I mentioned this sales cycle yesterday, Michael, on the RevGen. And it was the longest sales cycle I've ever seen in my life because nobody would understand. So nobody wanted it. But we had a few players in the real estate listing sites that took that. And now they're the biggest ones. We can see that. So I think that the shift now is still scary for a lot of people. But as I say to all my team members and to the people that I hang out with, it's not AI that will take your job. Is someone that will use AI will take your job and will take 5 jobs. So if there is not a shift yet on being comfortable with it, be at the forefront and start being comfortable with it, because if not, somebody else is coming for your job. And that is the truth. You can be 5x productive with just one ChatGPT tool. And then if you start having a prompt library and if you're starting to have other AI tools, you can really go to 10x productivity. So if there is not a shift, I think that it's the time now to make sure that we're all adapting to it.
Yeah, great. What I hear from this, Tim, is get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yeah, and that's where growth happens, right? It's growth happens where you're uncomfortable. If you're comfortable all the time, you're not growing. But if you start having uncomfortable moments, uncomfortable learnings, uncomfortable tasks that you're doing, that's where growth happens.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Michael, how about for you? Are you excited, concerned, scared, happy when it comes to AI, but especially in the context of being a lever of revenue generation?
Yeah, no, it's totally exciting, but like anything, with the good comes the bad. So there will be bad sides to it. I mean, like if you get the spammer mentality, once they get their hands on it with the tools, it will do some damage. I mean, like even to the sales process and stuff like that, where they're disingenuous. But the real exciting thing is AI can be used in the defense of the purchaser as well. So we see it. I mean, like, even the immediate kind of negative side I saw it. We had an applicant for a job who gave most of the answers in AI, which is this perfect, poetic answers. And then when we interviewed them, English wasn't their first language, and they were barely able to string a sentence together. So, that can leave them down as well. But no, it's more on the side of exciting. And I think that the biggest part, I suppose, the most exciting part is the products that will be born with AI. Now, I know that, say, Daniel and his company were really set up to just adopt even more and more AI. It's a perfect tool for it, but others could be bolting on AI and it won't be as good. But when you get a product that's actually something like that's born with AI, in the same way that I mean, like if you bolt on AI, it's a bit like a hybrid car with the 20 mile range or 30-kilometer range, and it's a hybrid. You bolt it on, and then those born with AI will be Teslas, or something like that. That's the way I see it, and we have to be aware of that as a product owner or a service. If you're coming at something, like Tim says, if you're late to the game or if you're just not aware, you will be left behind. For us, definitely as a product, we have to realize that. Some, in the same sense that our competitors, we were born on the internet. OnePageCRM was born on the internet. It was never CRM as a downloadable software or as something you would install. So when we come up against somebody that's an old CRM that's actually used to be maybe downloadable software and then they move to the web, we always beat them. So something we have to be aware about, if we apply AI to your product, you might never be as good as somebody who's born with AI. And that's something we have to look at, in the time to come. Maybe there's aspects of our product that will be born with AI.
Yeah, fantastic. And I mean, OnePageCRM and also Verse are a great example of how we can transition. Maybe Daniel, if you want to also talk about the history of Verse and how you guys have changed, because I think it also showcases, the power of AI just within a product and within a go-to-market strategy.
Yeah, thank you. Verse started as a glorified contact center. Really, we had human concierges. I told Annabelle when I walked into Verse, I've been at Verse for about 7 years, but when I walked in, it was like good-looking young people in Red Bull, and it looked like a tech office in San Diego, and everybody had headsets on, and essentially they were making calls and texting and emailing, and they were essentially trying to reach out to as many people as possible and get connected to as many people as possible. And over time, and the business is that we're a 20, just so that everyone knows, we're a 24/7 AI-powered two-way SMS platform and messaging platform. And so as it started with everyone making calls and manually texting, they were working from inside Salesforce. Like it was not tech. It was essentially a contact center. And one of the problems that we had was these cool young people that we're making these calls and texting everyone, we're having the same kinds of conversations a million times a day. So they would get bored and they would type the same thing. And it was like copy paste. They had docs open on another screen that they were just grabbing the same kind of scripting from and putting it into the text fields. And so the problem arose out of, the solution that we have rose out of our own problem of, we have these intelligent people, and they're doing repetitive tasks and they're getting annoyed and bored, and we don't have anything that, from an optimization standpoint, we don't know which scripts are the best scripts. We don't know, we're not gaining any intelligence. So we built a console for the concierges to use that automated a lot of the repetitive tasks and started learning which messages were more effective, started learning at what point messages stopped being responded to. And that just grew and blew up. And so today, what Verse is essentially automated conversations, following a conversation tree, using AI mostly for intent. So we're in highly regulated industries. So what we're allowed to send out, especially via SMS, which is also very highly regulated, what we're allowed to send out, the messaging has to be good and it has to be legitimate. And we can't unleash AI on the outbound messages quite yet, because we have to make sure that we understand. We have to kind of control the conversation as it heads out. But the conversation coming in is varied, right? It's all these humans. Most of it's B2C, some of it's B2B. Most of the businesses we work with are selling to consumers. And so the responses are as varied as you can imagine that all the humans are in the consumer world. So the AI is being used to measure intent, to understand what they're saying, and then it's putting it into response buckets of what we respond to next. So that's the evolution. I think the perspective that you were asking for is how kind of the AI has improved what we do. It actually helped us to retain most of the employees. To Tim's point, it wasn't that the AI replaced those concierges. Those concierges became conversation designers, and those concierges became client success managers who could advise on how best to structure campaigns. And so it wasn't that the AI moved them out. It took away the terrible thing that they were doing all day, which was just so redundant. And so that's been the driving force behind the business that we've built. And so that's what we're trying to do for everyone else. When we talk to a new customer, they either are hiring humans to blast phone calls all day, and they're using AI for that sometimes too, to have a dialer go through lists of people. And then the people who are actually making the phone calls, they're either outsourcing to BPOs or they're doing it internally, but it is repetitive and redundant. And so what we're doing, talking to these businesses, is trying to help them do what we did to our own team. We're trying to help them to do that internally.
What I hear is increasing job satisfaction and really adding value. I heard that AI, can be thought of as like that intern that you would delegate tasks to, or perhaps a really powerful / smart sidekick. Tim, does that resonate with you as well?
Well, that's exactly it, because I have a saying, and I think a few people in my webinars loved what I said. It's even ChatGPT example. You don't tell ChatGPT to do a task for you. It's not just, you don't say, hey, go do this. It's your assistant or it's your brainstorming partner, right? I called it having a meeting with ChatGPT, and people were like, oh, what do you mean? And I was like, well, I put slots in my calendar, and I'm going to do this task, right? And I put it, and I open my ChatGPT, and for that 20 minutes or 40 minutes of that time slot, I spend that time with ChatGPT. So it's definitely my co-pilot. It's, I say this and people make fun of me, but it's my best friend. Right now is absolutely my best friend. As a CEO of Taskdrive today, Today I just used it, yesterday I used it, tomorrow I will use it, on the weekends I use it for other different things, fun stuff, but I use it every day. And I think that's what's going to enhance us. And as Daniel said, I think that the new jobs are created, or the people that has jobs today, they can actually evolve into a new job, right? By taking these skill sets and by using these tools. And when I say skill set, to be honest with you, it's not like you don't have to go to school for it. You don't need certificates. You don't need education. You just need to open it every day for an hour. And I guarantee you in 2 weeks, you're going to be better. In a month, you're going to be better. In about 3 months, you're going to master it, and then we're going to run that poll again. And I know that the percentage on Master of AI with the wink is going to be much higher.
Yeah, that's the goal anyway. Daniel, I'm just going to go back to you for a minute, because I know that we have quite a lot of people joining us today who are still, again, in that learning phase, figuring out how to operationalize AI. So I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, what aspects of the sales process are the most suitable for automation versus perhaps best for human interactions, or best for humans to oversee?
So I'll focus on what I know about, because I know there are tools kind of coming out every day about ways that the sales process can be optimized kind of throughout the funnel. I think where I have some knowledge is the top of funnel initial customer engagement. So there are the process as it is right now, as you go through buying tech or buying consumer goods. So we mostly exist in the financial services, home services, real estate, mortgage, insurance, higher education, those kind of, like, when people are going online and inquiring about something, that the inquiry form online is the beginning of the journey for our team. And what used to require an SDR or someone in the office qualifying leads, following up with people who filled out the inquiry form but didn't respond, some of those, the top of funnel, kind of getting a person from the inquiry form to the next step is a process that's getting, the automation and AI is getting much, much better. And so that's where I would see the biggest value in doing something, in adding AI, because we talked about this. Remember when things have changed in like 10 years? Remember when you called a number for customer service or something, and you were so annoyed because you press zeros fast enough, like you just wanted to talk to a person as fast as you could, and you really just you wanted to get in touch with someone so that you could tell them your problem and you could get your problem solved. And when they made you go through all the telephone prompts, pressing 1, pressing 9, press 7 for X, and then eventually you just like, I just want to talk to a human, right?
My heart rate is raising as you speak, Daniel.
And it's so frustrating. But imagine now going on Amazon and you wanting to return something. Imagine having to go through, having to talk to a person every time you wanted to return something on Amazon. You hate that. And the reason why we've gotten comfortable with automation with Amazon is because it's really good and it's really intuitive. And the reason why we wanted to talk to a person was because those telephone prompt programs sucked. And you'd have to go through a bunch of different things that you don't want. So the point in that is, as the AI gets better, people are going to be more responsive to automation. People are going to be okay with automation the same way they are with returning something on Amazon. And right now, like a question people ask us all the time is like, do people think the AI is a real human? And the answer is yes. If you see people's responses, they're responding to our AI as if we're humans, but it may not even matter, right? In the future, you don't really care if you're trying to get some information. If you're trying to get from point A to point B, you just want to get the information that you're looking for. You want to get the service that you're looking for. And so when customers are filling out when filling out an inquiry form, they're getting more comfortable with answering questions in a way that they know they're going to get the right answer to, even whether they're talking to AI or talking to a human. So I think that beginning of the sales process before they need to get to someone is something that can almost be completely automated today. And that's where there's a lot of power, because it does require human bodies right now. And again, to Tim's earlier point, you're not necessarily replacing those humans with AI so that those people don't have jobs anymore. You're moving them up the funnel so that your inbound sales team is only talking to qualified prospects, so that when you build your inbound response process, that all of that part of weeding out people who are interested today versus interested in 6 months, people who don't have budget, whether they don't have they don't have credit if they're trying to buy something that requires financing, getting all of that out of the way early on, and automating that, and only feeding the people who are interested and ready to buy to the inbound sales team is one of the ways that you can utilize AI in a kind of quick, really, I don't know that it's easy if you're not outsourcing it, but in a quick and effective way.
Yeah, great insight. So, Michael, as a thought leader, I guess, in the CRM space, is that something that you've seen as well?
There's a good few areas that the communication, what Daniel is talking about, even from the salespeople doing, they immediately want to do some of AI to do some of the heavy lifting. On research maybe, or insights. But I think, another one is really good for it is the professionalism that, that a system like Daniel's can bring to everything. There's no, unless it gets it wrong, but the type of tasks you might be asking it, a bit like he mentioned in Amazon, it can really get those things right and does everything very professional. I guess from our own point of view, I always think a little bit like the Minority Report screens. And the most exciting part for me, I suppose, what we can do behind, pulling all the information. We want to be able to pull everything together for our users, to be able to make decisions much better. And to give them that, we need to get plumbing the web, I call it, really right. Pulling that information in from all the sources that you need to, putting it in that one place, a little bit like Minority Report. He had everything he wanted to be able to make the decisions, and that's our task, I think, as a CRM in the future. If we can do the underlying data connections from wherever they need to, and that's like in general, plumbing the web is a massive thing for us, for anybody in IT. I think the days of the very, very large, rigid enterprise systems could have its time limited, because there's always this saying about the thing that will maybe undo email or something like that. It won't be an email system. It won't be a better email system. It'll be something else. And to me, connecting a lot of smaller systems, and instead of this large enterprise software that takes a fortune to build, create, configure, and everything like that. If we can connect all that systems and using AI to help pull that data together, present it, and for users to be able to make decisions, and Tim was alluding to, move up the value chain and stop doing the tasks that can be done by a system. It's like 10 people working in the field with manual tools, and you just say somebody's got to learn how to drive the tractor and just do the whole job. So it's not like replacing. It still work needs to be done in the field, but you don't have to be doing a lot of the manual stuff. So to me, that's the most exciting part, and it's what I think that AI can do a lot on both gathering of information and then helping either display or even prompt kind of decision making and stuff like that. That's a really exciting area.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not to add something to that, if you don't mind, Annabelle. You know, from the Minority Report, first of all, that's one of my dreams. I hope that's going to happen soon. I saw Daniel there as well. You know, like I'd love to be in my office, just going like this, or not even an office, right? With the new, hopefully, Apple AR glasses at some point, not these crazy VR glasses, but the AR glasses. Just put them on. I'm somewhere, and I'm starting to do all my tasks. I'm delegating and stuff like that. I can't wait for that, to be honest. Like that would be a dream come true. But just going back to that, I think that humanity, we are meant for greater things. So the low cognitive tasks, as Michael, you were saying, you know, I think the low cognitive tasks should disappear from our day-to-day. We should be focusing on high cognitive tasks, because as more our brains work for high cognitive tasks, the more we evolve and the greater we feel. So the low cognitive work really is the ones that drains us, right? When you look at the old school factory workers that did manual stuff, they were drained. Right now there's machines, okay? Maybe it killed some jobs, but it also created jobs, because those machines had to be engineered and had to be repaired and had to be maintained and stuff like that. So it's a bit of the chicken and egg problem, as everybody would say. But I think that, you know, let's embrace the high cognitive work, less focus to automate that low cognitive work.
Yeah, I love that message. Let's. But we've talked about like the benefits of AI, and also the evolution and the changes in feelings around AI. And even, you know, when we talk to Siri or Alexa, you know, how we tend to say thank you. So it's kind of a conversation almost. But Tim, could you share maybe potential blind spots when it comes to AI or sales automation?
I can. So the blind spots, I think that we kind of touched upon it a little bit, but I think not now, but before, I think when we were preparing for this last week, when we were saying, hey, we're going to have an AI one, I think it's really the privacy matter is going to be a really problem, because it's not a blind spot for Michael or Daniel or I or Annabelle for you, but I know that a lot of people are not saying that this is AI, you know, and when the phone call happens, that it's, you know, you have to say, I think you should say that is AI. And I think the other things is that what Michael said in the beginning, with every good, there is bad. And one of the scariest things that, you know, before you'd have a scammer send you an SMS, say, hey, I'm your daughter, I need money, I'm stuck here, right? And it was an SMS. And you'd believe it. Some, sadly, people would believe, but a lot of people wouldn't believe. But today you're able to call and say, hey, you know, Mom, I'm stuck and I need this money to this bank account now, or Mom, I'm kidnapped, or Mom, this. You know, I think that it's more than blind spots. I think it's things that today we need to be really aware of this for everybody. And, you know, don't believe everything that is going to be out there anymore. You know, this happened with the Pentagon photo, right? There was the Pentagon getting shot, you know, bombed, and everybody, like, the stock market went down, right? And whoever put that photo out there potentially bought stocks, right? And then when it went back up, he got rich. You know, so I think that more than blind spots is, because they're not just spots, I think they're massive areas. Is you know, in car mirrors, you do have a very small blind spot. It's not huge. But this time, I think we do have a massive problem at hand. And this is why, you know, I'm not a big Elon Musk fan or anything like that. But I also am a fan somehow. It's a difficult one. But, you know, I love something he said. And this is why everything AI is cheap and is available, is so that everybody can get hands on. Right. And this is from anybody in the world, from the 8 billion people that there is in the world. Anybody should be able to access this. Right. If everybody can access it, then we can do good stuff as well, and not just bad stuff. And then we can start understanding the bad stuff. So I think that, you know, if you're developing an AI tool, you know, make sure that it's accessible for everybody. And, you know, let's learn from every data set, you know, because I'm sorry, I'm going to say this in public, but, you know, AI is racist, you know, and AI is racist because it was trained on rich white men's data, right? Because that's the corporate companies in the US and stuff like that. And, you know, we're all aiming to change that. But I'm a white man, and, you know, and it's difficult. You know, we have to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity, and that the AI understands that, you know, it's not just rich white men out there. that there is enough data set of any race, any culture. I think that's the tough and scary stuff. Yuval Noah Harari had an amazing speech. If anybody has watched it, Daniel's shaking his head, so I think he watched it. I think that really, I'm getting goosebumps now. He mentioned that AI can create a religion, right? At the end of the day, religion is a book, and we followed it because it had messages and stuff like that. But it was one person or whatever. If you believe in Jesus and stuff like that, I'm not going to get into that. But it was that message was written in these books and distributed, right? And it was difficult to distribute these books, compared to the distribution that can happen today, right? The distribution that can happen today from ChatGPT or GPT-4 or OpenAI, whatever company that could do it, or the bad actors, is that it can create a religion, and it can speak to millions, potentially billions of people at the same time on their internet, in their house, on their phone, right? So that's scary. I think this is what we should be very careful. And I'm glad that, Daniel, I think you put it. I'm not sure if everybody sees that because it's hosts and panelists, but if, I hope that we can copy and paste that for the public. An amazing speech, scary, but also very eye-opening. So I do recommend to watch that. I think, just to go back to your question, Annabelle, it's blind spots. It's not these little things. It's a massive discussion. Sam Altman, he himself went and said, guys, regulate us. And I think we let's get regulation ASAP. I think it's important.
Yeah, Germany is actually looking at EU AI regulations 2024. So absolutely, there'll be a lot being discussed on the topic of bias, but I also know that it can trigger quite a lot of emotions. Daniel or Michael, do you want to add anything to this?
I just go back one step on the bias. I mean, like, that exists already. If you Google something, we're taking Google's opinion on what they are putting on the first or second page. So it exists already, but I totally agree with Tim. I mean, like, the AI is being developed from human conversations, human recordings of texts, and so it's based on that. And we have our flaws, we have our biases, and so the AI will have the built-in biases. So I don't know. I'm hoping that there will be more than one Google when it comes to AI. And I think that may solve it. And hopefully then there's an AI that sits on multiple AIs that are aggregating and hopefully get the best response. It's going to be a crazy future in terms of that, I think.
My only addition to blind spots or potential downsides of AI, do you remember when ChatGPT first got released and the content, like the LinkedIn content, started to become, people were posting, and it was like people who never posted before, or people who posted kind of rarely, were starting to post like tomes and essays, and you're like, there was and then the trend was, AI helped me write this post, and it really diluted a lot of the content, and it made you more suspicious of kind of online, especially LinkedIn thought leadership and things like that, where you kind of thought, all right, I would like a filter, please, of where I can only see people who actually came up with it. So Tim, you might actually have a lot to say about this, because I know that you post a lot of content on LinkedIn. I think there's probably one of the big advantages of AI would be to go help you create, like, to get ideas for creating content, and to help with organizing your posting schedules and social media strategies and things like that, but not for the actual content creation, because as it is right now, mostly it comes out fluffy and not too insightful if you're copy pasting directly from your ChatGPT to your social channels.
Yeah, I think that it's very interesting, because I've tested also commenting with AI without even thinking, so just scanning the post, and everybody's like, some people were like, oh, that's AI and this guy is a scam, and it's like, no, I'm testing, and I've posted for a bit or without thinking and just getting a title and being like, okay, here is a title, AI, give me stuff. And now even my post of today that everybody's like, happy birthday to your wife, it's, you know, it's AI, but about 10 to 15 bullet points was mine, right? So I said, you know, this is what I want to say, this is what my wife does, this is why I'm celebrating her birthday, blah blah blah. So I do say a lot of things that are my own thoughts, but I'm not a good writer. English is not my first language. So AI helps me a lot in that. But it's still my own thoughts. So if you can make sure that it's still your own thoughts, you know, if you're still backing those thoughts, then I don't see why AI should not write it for you. But also we have to be careful, of course, on making sure that your own thoughts are your own thoughts, so that you don't start believing what ChatGPT tells you, because, you know, we have seen that. And, you know, if you remember, there was even somewhere somebody suicided because ChatGPT said you're not good or whatever, something like that, which was very scary. That was just in the beginnings of ChatGPT and stuff. So I think AI should be there to help us. And if it's your own thoughts, why not? But again, I think ChatGPT and AI is actually teaching me to write better. Right, I put my 15 bullet points, or I make a horrible draft of like just me, like blah blah blah, like just now. Right. And then it gives me a better post. And I'm like, oh, I like that. And the next time I have that learning with me when I'm posting my next post. You know,
Tim,
so yeah.
Are you brave enough to write a letter to your wife, a romantic letter to your wife written by ChatGPT? And you're posting it. It's different. But I'm wondering how many people out there have now written their vows, and how much trouble they might be in if they were found out.
I wish I had it before, Daniel. I mean, it's easier, I tell you that. You know, but my wife's a copywriter, right? So it's even scarier, right? She's a copywriter that works for Notion and stuff like that. You know, so she's a serious copywriter. So she would understand right away. And, you know, she's been with me 9 years, and she knows English is not my first language, and I make a lot of grammatical mistakes. But instead of love letters, I have written jokes to my wife. You know, and she has enjoyed them. Someone's terrible, someone's really good, and she laughed. You know, I even had a plugin, SpeechSkey. I don't remember the name exactly. And I wrote a story and a joke, like a joking story, and then I translated that into a voice, and then I just pressed play, and she listened to it. You know, so you can actually have humor, and you can build even a better relationship with your partner with using ChatGPT. You know, so as I was saying, on the weekends I do use it for fun stuff. You know, I'd use it even to plan stuff. You know, we can getaways with my family. You know, I use it for that as well.
And Tim, so I know that even on Taskdrive, you give a lot of like prompts for sales. So what would be like your pro tips to give prompts to ChatGPT, you know, add context, but, you know, perhaps it's improve this or review that, or, you know, what are your, say, top 3, top 4?
Yeah, I think that what we do a lot now is, you know, especially Bing came back today. So I'm looking forward to testing that again, because the search with Bing was disabled, but we were using a plugin for that called Web Pilot. But I can say, you know, find 5 facts about Daniel Cross, you know, from Verse.ai, and it will go in a search and it will give me the 5 facts, right? And that actually saves so much time from an SDR. Instead of just going, Googling and then clicking and stuff like that. And suddenly I get 5 facts about Daniel. I know where he works. I know what he likes potentially. I know he was in a webinar. I know he's invited to OnePageCRM webinar next week. These information is real information. It's like a search. So I don't think this is a bad thing to do. That would be the number 1 prompt that I do. I think that the second one is for sure is sentiment analysis. I think we had spoken this with Michael, if I'm not mistaken. It's like you write something and then you're like, how's the person going to feel receiving this? Right. And that is really good, because we can feel very differently while we're writing it, and we expect the person to understand that feeling, but ChatGPT is going to be much more, you know, blunt, and it's going to be like, oh, I read that, doesn't know me, you know, so it's going to understand that feeling, and it's going to tell me, oh, you know, people could feel bad about that, or it's spammy, or it's cold, you know, this is friendly, this is nice, you know, it feels cozy. right? So that would be a second one. And a third one, to be honest, not just on sales, but I think it's in everything. It's anytime I write something, I will always ask it to review it, even for grammatical, and not just grammatical because I have Grammarly for that, but on making sense. Is it flowing well? Usually I'll also always add cut the fluff, as Daniel was saying. It's very fluffy. So in each of my prompt at the end, I'm like, cut the fluff, cut it by 50%. Right? I always have that, sometimes even 70%. Cut the fluff, cut it by 50% or 70%, and make it conversational. I have my own writing style for ChatGPT because I use another Chrome extension that injects that, and is fun, friendly, informal, because that's how I write: fun, friendly, informal. So I will make sure that everything that I write is fun, friendly, and informal.
Wonderful. I've done it myself, like limit to 100 words, but I also like your tip of reduce by a certain percentage. It's really good. And I mean, Michael, when you think about OnePageCRM and the product that you're building, trying to stay like future focused as well, because we all know that right now we're in a world, in a stage that things are changing like really rapidly. So how can we stay always a step ahead to remain competitive and relevant to our users or to our customers? I know it's a very broad question, but any insights that you could share?
Yeah, totally. It's a little bit like what I was saying about, putting the data in front of people and letting them make the decisions and being assistants. I mean, like, if we're to use the analogy, moving from manual work in the fields to a tractor, you don't leave the tractor off on its own. It can do a lot of damage. And that's one of the fears I have. If you hand over power, in a sales process to AI too much, it could make you look sloppy. Especially if it's not upfront about the AI parts. If you take from us, I mean, like we get a lot of requests to build in automated sequences of emails and stuff like that. But there's something you have to be really careful for. We're a sales tool, and if you build in something that's kind of like marketing automation, and that's operating in parallel to you as a human, that can be dangerous. So I always say, like, either I sell or you sell, Mr. AI. And the last thing you want to do is be on the phone to somebody in the morning on a sales call, and then they get an email that evening saying, hey, we didn't chat in a while. It's like, that makes you look very sloppy in sales. And then they start to kind of just start to lose trust a little bit. So that's something we have to be very careful about into the future. But no, I mean, like, there's plenty areas we can do the sentiment, both outgoing, like Tim mentioned, but also the sentiment coming in. And we have got a few areas of OnePageCRM you can put stuff together. So salespeople take some notes, and they might write some actions like in OnePageCRM. And then there's the synchronized emails. With the three of those together, we can make huge prediction and analysis, and suggest actions that somebody could take. And because we're dealing with so many people, say in sales, if you have a lot of sales going on and you have a lot of people that you're engaging with and multiple stakeholders on, or even multiple, you could be dealing with a builder and there's an architect involved and there's multiple people. Nobody will pull that together better and kind of present it to you better than AI. So it's really something good. And then you make the decision. I always kind of think about it like, AI is really good at reading an email, but it can't read the room, and you don't want to be kind of left in an embarrassing position because of that. So I really think we should get good at, crunching together lots of information and proposing it to the user, and they make that final decision. A bit back, like you said, about having, AI is a bit like having unlimited interns. Is it really, an intern, you give it a job, especially if it's a binary answer, they can come back with it. Yeah, that's good. I can now make a decision based on that answer. And they remove workload. But a lot of interns don't remove workload. You have to check their work. You have to, unlimited interns is almost like a headache. So, you have to be careful there. I think, is it really, not going to make you look sloppy as a salesperson, removing some of the heavy lifting and some of the basic communications that maybe Daniel spoke about, that early pipeline stuff where AI is doing the job and you're not kind of stepping on its toes and it's not stepping on your toes. And then it gets to the real point where it just becomes an assistant. And then you can handle more prospects at the one time. You can handle more details at the one time. And this is the stuff Tim alludes to, that one person can do the job of 5 but they're still doing the job. They're still making the main decisions because they can read the room. AI can't plant a seed in the mind of a prospect. This is a really powerful thing that a salesperson can do. But if you can give the information crunching together a long timeline of something and a wide timeline of multiple people speaking, allowing somebody to actually make decisions very quickly, very accurately, this is really good stuff. And this is where I think our focus should be.
I mean, I'd love to add a bit to that, Michael. I think it's amazing what you're saying. But we're all talking here like ChatGPT or, GPT-4. And I think that we're all missing, which me too, AutoGPT. I don't know if you guys have played around with AutoGPT. I think it was a bit too early and it's still a bit early, but AutoGPT is able to check its own work against things and then task itself multiple times. And it's really bad at the moment because it just goes into a loop where the task never finishes. But I think those type of technologies is going to really make us like, oh, wow. Okay. I can just tell it what to do, how to do it a little bit, and it's going to get that job done. Then the interns work, then the unlimited intern is going to be actually a great thing to have and not a bad thing to have, as Michael was saying. And I love, Giles, I love Giles. He was here yesterday as well in our audience. He wrote a poem of OnePageCRM, and, just to read: customer relationships nurtured and cared with OnePageCRM, success is shared. That's brilliant. Come on, guys. That is brilliant. How are you going to get that if you didn't have such a tool? So I always have a saying as well: tools are not for fools. So let's think about that, and let's make sure that we use it for fun stuff, good stuff, and not for the things that would damage people or damage your sales messaging or your lead, your prospect, and so on. Let's use it for the good stuff.
And we're just going to pause for a second because we have about 5 minutes left. So if there's any questions from the audience, please ask, and we're more than happy to answer them. And while we have the questions coming in, I have perhaps one last question for our panelists here today. Earlier we were talking about LinkedIn feeds being completely populated with AI messages. And one that's really stuck out to me was a quote from the ex-CEO of Tinder that said, "Data beats emotion." Just those 3 words. And I really want to understand what was your take on this? Because it can be read in so many different ways. Data beats emotions, and just this alone triggers quite a lot of emotions. So Daniel?
Yeah, I wonder if it's about decision making, and from our leadership, as an example, we want to gather as much data. Some people in script writing and copywriting for our campaigns, people have an idea of what they think could work. Salespeople, particularly like sales managers and people who are at high levels in sales, have very strong feelings about scripting and they've built these amazing scripts, or that they have the key to unlocking. So, and sometimes it's just emotional and not backed by any data. It's just what worked for them, when they ran a sales team in the early 2000s or something. And so maybe it's referring to, and when I take it in
maybe in an optimistic way, which is that, when we're always iterating and trying to improve and optimize text conversations and campaigns. So we're reading the data as it comes back and making changes, not based on what we feel, but based on what's getting the highest responses and what people are responding to. So I'll take it that way and say that you should make decisions based on data and not what feels good.
Michael?
Yeah, it's kind of like parallel to the being data driven versus being data influenced. I think it's a really good way of looking at it. And the other thing as well, data, something collecting data, but collecting the wrong data, or collecting, maybe what Daniel is talking about, out of context data, that's the danger. If you are 100% sure that your data, method of collection and everything like that is good, then it'll beat anything. But take for example they had a massive amount of data when they did the Pepsi challenge, and they changed the taste of Coke, but it completely distorted, because the first taste of Pepsi was always going to beat Coke, and then it's too sweet over time. So they changed the Coke, and it collected a lot of data, and they said, oh yeah, this is a better formula, and then there was uproar. So they were just collecting the data the wrong way. They didn't kind of get people in the right context. So I think data is super powerful, but I'm super cautious with it. You can destroy something that has great potential because of data giving you negative signals, and you could also miss out on something very powerful that you should do, as well. So you really need to be like Sherlock Holmes when it comes to when you're looking at the data, and ask a lot of questions. And it's only when you've exhausted all of those, then you start to trust it 100%.
Data mightn't have the vision, so to be taken with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
So we got a question from Ed in the chat. So there are several AI tools currently available, but aside from ChatGPT and AutoGPT, what other tools are currently available that are noteworthy?
So many, and that's why I did, I'm sorry, a shameless plug there, and I put my newsletter, because it's a free weekly newsletter, and I always have a tool. Most of the time now it's an AI tool, I think I have a list of AI tools that I'd spend an hour here, just get what do you want to achieve? If it's video clips, go for Opus Pro. If you want to book your holidays now, go with Google Bard. It's very interesting. And as Michael was saying about the data, Google Bard just came with a new feature where it will check the data to see if it's correct, to check the sources and understand if it's, because it has the Google search on top of it. So there are so many tools, Annabelle. I think the answer to Ed is going to be very difficult from my end, but maybe Michael or Daniel could answer it better than I do, because I'd spend hours to answer that question.
No, I think if you're running a newsletter where you're recommending AI tools every week, I trust you, Tim.
I'm signing up, Tim.
They call me Tooltime Tim. That's my nickname.
So
I was just going to say my favorite AI tool is Grammarly. Honestly, the one that you use every single day. If you don't have Grammarly, it saves your butt several 100%, times.
100%, Daniel. I've been paying that yearly without thinking about it, and now that it has the AI tools, AI feature inside, it's just a no-brainer. And it had some AI tools that we were not aware of, and now they make it aware that it's AI, and I think that it's a no-brainer, 100%.
Fantastic. We have time for one more question. We touched on this during this webinar, but a question came in from our LinkedIn Live. With so many tasks being automated because of AI, are our jobs at risk as sales professionals?
I know. This is this is not the first time something like this comes along. I mean, like e-commerce has already taken away a certain amount of sales professions. Imagine all the shops that have closed down where people were just selling products, and now Amazon comes along. We now have the advent and more usage of B2B e-commerce, and that's a whole other batch of jobs that are affected by it. Again, it's all about moving up the food chain for those type of products or services. But for certainly our market, they're consultants, service providers, these small businesses. I don't see it coming anytime soon. If they use the AI tools to their best advantage, or to their best ability, it gives them a massive advantage, over others. They can, like I said earlier, they can handle more stuff. But I don't see it taking any of our those type of jobs anytime soon. Consultative sales or consultative type sales is a lot of problem solving. We spoke about it yesterday, sitting at the same side of the table and making them feel really like, that you're trying to implement their agenda rather than trying to push your agenda. There's a whole raft of things, I mean, like salespeople will consult on. It's like, the cost of decision making on a certain product or service and where the future cost, that they're going down the wrong direction, and that kind of stuff is kind of hard for people to accept from a machine to make that decision. I mean, like, it's a scary thing. So they need that kind of really close consultative type sales process to make sure they're making the right decision here. There's a lot of tools are very cheap and a lot of products can be very, very cheap. But it's the huge cost about learning and systems and training and whatever you do and whatever you implement. There is a hidden cost of that in the future. Buy-in from staff or whatever it is that you do, that's a big cost. And that's where that consultative approach is massive. So I don't see it happening. It's already happening in certain sectors, like I said, e-commerce, B2B e-commerce, and there will be another small raft of it coming. Maybe it's like an extension of B2B e-commerce. Certainly if AI joins the buying side, we're going to see a whole new exciting area. But the consultative type, certainly our market that uses our product, I think it's an assistant, and hopefully that assistant, if we call them an intern, over time that assistant will become more like an executive assistant rather than just an intern. That'll be the hope.
So thank you, Daniel, Michael, and Tim. I mean, it's been a great session, but overall a great RevGen 2-day masterclass. So we're going to put up a slide with Daniel, Michael, and Tim's contact details. So post webinar, we're also going to share a recording of this webinar and perhaps, Tim, your newsletter. So if anybody wants to subscribe and hear about more AI tips and tools. So thank you once again, and have a great day from Dublin, Ireland. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been amazing. Cheers.
Thanks, Annabelle.
Bye.